This video focuses on keyboard events. Before we discuss the script, let's review the cargo file. We have covered creating labels, panels, buttons, and menus, as well as setting custom fonts. Today, we will learn from two source codes, key.rs and ball1.rs. We will use the newly released version of egui and eframe. First, let's examine the use declaration for key.rs, followed by the main function. The application window is small, 300 by 200. As usual, we will need a struct for our application. And we need to write our own update method. This is the central panel, where we will add a label. The parameter of the update method ctx contains information about keyboard events. The input method takes a closure as a parameter to access the shared input state. Specifically, the code here tries to detect if the key A is pressed. This checks if the specified key was held down during this frame. This checks if the specified key was released during this frame. Let's compile and run the program. I will press the A key once, hold it for a second, and then release it. I was actually expecting to see something like this. However, the key press was detected multiple times. The eframe document states that the update method is triggered whenever the UI requires repainting. This implies that when a key is held down, repainting is not always necessary. However, calling request repaint here will force a repaint. If we compile and run the code, repainting is performed if the key is held down briefly. You can put the request repaint command outside the if block. Next, we will learn how to use the scroll area. Let's revisit the use definition and add scroll area to it. We will also add a field to the struct myApp. Then, we will modify the update method by replacing the println command with a command that pushes a string into the text field. Similarly, we are making a change here and here. We are adding the scroll area here. Please look up the stick-to-bottom method online for more information. Next, we will add code to detect when the key C is pressed. The if structures can be replaced by if-else-if structure for improved performance. Please run this script to see if it produces the same result. Before we move on to our second program, I recommend a web resource for learning egui. I am going to git clone the resource to my computer. Actually, I already did it. Let's have a look at what's inside the folder. Open the example folder and scroll down. Open this folder. Open the cargo.toml file. Change the Rust version and eframe version. Then, cargo run the program. The green ball is controlled by the keys W, A, S, and D. The blue ball is controlled by arrow keys. Let's go back to my folder for the second program. Check the items in red online for more information. We define 3 constants of F32 type and 1 constant of type stroke. This is the struct for the balls we have seen in the demo. The struct has 5 fields: position, angle, speed, radius, and color. We are going to bind 4 functions to the struct. These functions, or methods, will be called to modify the values of some fields. The first one will modify the speed. The second one will modify the angle. The third one will modify the position. The last one will paint the balls on the screen. Let's fill the function body with code. Change the speed by the increment. And put a limit on the absolute value of the speed. We don't have to set any limit for the angle. The tick method is a little bit more complicated. The new position is calculated based on the speed and the direction in which the ball moves. When the ball reaches the border of the canvas, we make the ball bounce back. Finally, we need to do the paint method. This line of code draws the ball. We need to draw the line segment. We need a little bit of math for that. Then we draw the line. This is the struct we need to build our GUI application. We already know that the player is the ball on the screen. Let's learn how to implement the default trait for my app. We define a function called default, and the function returns self, which is my app. My app has 2 fields, paused and player. The default value for paused is true. Player has 5 fields. These are the default values for them. We need to implement the new function. We define a reset function. Later, we will call this function in response to a key press. Now it's time to write the update function. Please check online for set pixels per point. We are going to concentrate on the code which handles the keyboard events, as well as the code to move and paint the ball. Let's examine the code for handling keyboard events. The meaning of the code indicated by the purple mark is quite straightforward. If the R key is pressed, the reset function is called. If the escape key is pressed, the application quits. If the space key is pressed, the value of paused is toggled between true and false. This line creates a hash set variable called keyDown to store the keys held down during this frame. The variable type is hashsetKey. We can use this variable to determine the appropriate action to take in response to the held down key. Let's examine the code for moving and painting the ball. We need the canvas size to determine when to bounce the ball. If the game is not paused, we move the ball, otherwise, we draw instruction labels. To draw, we get the painter and draw the ball. To make the code more readable, I will move these lines into a function called showInst. The function is defined like this. Pause the video to read the code. This is the main function. The application viewport is maximized. Let's have a look at the full code before we compile and run the application. Let's compile and run the application. Thanks for watching.